Alright everybody, I am Kevin from The Real Movie Guys, and you are watching The Real Review, a series where we review and discuss all your favorite movies. And don't forget, if you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel today. On today's episode, we'll be taking a look at Malignant. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. Before I even get into this review, I have one quick recommendation. If you have even the slightest interest in checking out this film, I 100% recommend going in as blind as possible. This review will have zero direct spoilers, but not knowing what to expect next or having zero inclination on where events are going to go is one of this film's greatest strengths, and for the viewer to have an idea of what to expect, I can feel it can tarnish the experience to some degree. So do yourself a favor, turn off this video, go watch the movie, then come back and see what I have to say. Who said originality was dead in Hollywood? Well, I have several times on this channel, but I'm more than happy to report that director James Wans' Malignant may have slightly raised my hopes in seeing more original projects being brought to life. While this film may divide people due to some plot twists and changes in tone, Malignant is a beautifully shot and sculpted film that takes all the risks you could ever ask for in a horror film and isn't afraid to be different within a sea of copy and paste ideas. I would dare say at this point Malignant is not the best movie I've seen this year, but is one of the best times I've had watching a film in a very long time. I make it no secret I'm a huge James Wans fan. You might even consider me a bit of a fanboy at times. I think you can make an argument about some of his story materials not exactly hitting the mark, but as far as inventive and creative cinematography in his films, he is one of the best working today. He's able to adapt and create amazing visuals in every genre, whether it's his work in the low-budget franchise starter Saw or in his more robust blockbuster venture like Aquaman. Every film he touches has some sort of interesting or different angle to it, making something that we've seen before that more visually interesting, and Malignant is no different here. One distinct scene involves Madison running through the house with the camera hanging overhead, making the house feel like a maze. Again, something that is inventive and very uncommon. Some of the scariest shots take advantage of the sense of space in the scene, creating this empty, ominous feeling that anything could appear at any moment. Brilliantly, expectations are subverted to where you would think this would be a prime moment for a jump scare. However, the scare never comes, resulting in the tension constantly building in the pit of your stomach. Complementing this style is also the beautiful usage of shadowing and lighting, again adding to the over sense of mystery and danger around every corner. A particular hotel scene towards the middle of the film uses a brightly lit billboard sign that casts this almost otherworldly coloring to a scene that in all honesty you may have seen before, but I stress the marriage of all these elements just creates something incredibly special and unique, altering your experience within the familiar horror material. I really have to go out of my way to also compliment the blend of CGI and practical effects. Typically a film like this will tend to lean either one way or the other in terms of the type of effect usage. Malignant I think finds the perfect blend of both, using the CGI effects for the more paranormal and mind-bending setting transformations, and trying to keep everything else practical within reason. The CGI is very well done in this film, especially the reality-altering scenes where we go from one location to another through Madison's perspective. I just love the walls and scenery literally melting away and transitioning so beautifully. While on the subject of practicality, we have to talk about this film's antagonist, Gabriel. I won't go into any story details about him, but I will say that Wan has officially created a new iconic horror villain. His silhouette of long black hair, trench coat, and spider-like movements always made me feel uneasy, especially when you have to take into consideration that a contortionist was used to make all the movements more authentic. I celebrate the conserved effort here. What could have been just another green screen villain now has a living, breathing vessel, with only slight CGI being used to enhance and not overshadow his presence. A quick nod should also be given to this film's sound design as well. Malignant likes to, as with its cinematography, subvert expectations. Who knew that the most minute of sounds such as water dropping or light tapping had the ability to conjure so much tension in a scene? Wan turns these obscure noises into personified focal points of the scene, almost acting as a terror metronome, lulling you into a pure sense of unease. Now, you may have noticed that I have not mentioned the plot at all so far in this review, and that's for very good reason. Like I mentioned earlier, this film is best experience untainted. The reason being is that the twists towards the end of the film I think will either make or break the viewer's enjoyment. More than anything, I feel bad for this film's marketing team. They tried to market this film as another paranormal style film that couldn't be more misguided, but anything more detailed would have not have done this movie justice. Initially, this film starts out as a horror mystery thriller, but slowly it evolves into a full-blown action horror flick with anything involving logic being thrown out the window. It's that tonal shift that I think will divide people the most. You have to go into it with the mentality that either you're on for the ride, whatever that entails, or you're already checked out once the balls to the wall third act kicks in. Will this film make sense? Absolutely not. But this film wants you to embrace that, and to their credit, they do a relatively decent job stitching the outlandish plot together. I may just happen to fall under the banner of totally being all in for this concept, but I wouldn't question anyone who simply just wasn't into it. Even if you're all in for this ride, I feel there are a few things that did keep me at arm's length from fully embracing this movie unconditionally. After the initial first act of this film, there is a bit of a slow and meandering plot progress. I didn't find myself looking at my watch at any point, but I did want the story to just get on with it. With all this downtime, it's a wonder why I couldn't develop a bond with any of these characters, which leads me to the acting. For me, this was one of the weakest points of the film. Now, maybe this was intentional. Wan could be going for that cheesy 80s horror vibe with the line delivery. It was typical for old school 80s horror films to cast relative unknowns with bad to horrible acting skills, and this film follows that tradition, but while the delivery is up for debate, either way, I don't think it was successful. The terrible delivery just compacted and added to the disconnect I felt with all the characters. This disconnect ultimately bleeds over into the more emotional scenes, especially the ending where instead of leaving me with some sort of emotional resolution, I was rolling my eyes. Honestly, it's rare when I can come upon a film that feels truly unique. It's a small miracle that something like this even came out of Hollywood studios instead of an indie film outing. Malignant at times suffers from a sluggish pace and the acting can be a chore to get through, but if you're willing to be mesmerized by the unique cinematography and just go with the insane direction this film takes in the third act, discarding any logical thought, I don't think this film will disappoint. This all leads me to my final score. I'm going to give Malignant a B+.
What do you want from me?
To show you what the cancer has become.
Do yourself a favor, check out Malignant as soon as possible, especially all of my B-horror movie fans out there. We need to support creativity like this to let the studios know that we want new ideas and not rehashed and recycled content. This film to me is one of the biggest surprises of the year, and if we can just show a little more support, maybe risks like this will be more commonplace in the near future. If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, you should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.